Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today I for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're going to be going over all the artifact sets and what they kind of do as fast as possible, because recently I've been actually doing these a little bit longer than I would like, especially with making these guides a little too long for you guys. So I'll try to make sure they're at least thoroughly talked about here while also being a little bit quick about each one, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. Now, if you do, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Really does help me out quite a lot. Y'all have been really supportive over the last few freaking days, and we've blown up significantly. So thank you guys as much as possible when it does come down to that. And let's get straight into it. So when it comes down to at least revelation cards or artifacts, whatever you want to really call these dudes, there is a lot of these. They're usually just going to be making your characters as good as possible. You're going to need at least to know exactly what each of these things do. Now, there's a difference between revelation cards being the main 4 cards that you use, and then the universe cards. Pretty much how the gear system does work in this game, and a good choice, or at least a good way to really showcase this. I'm just going to use Makoto because why not? Okay, listen, he's cool. But a good way to actually showcase this is with his gear set. As you can see, we have, of course, the 2-piece effect and the 4-piece effect. Every gear set actually does have this type of function here, whether they have a 2-piece set and a 4-piece set. Don't let this distract you. You'll never use like two 2-pieces. You're always going to use a 4-piece in order to actually do the arcane card. And these actually all together will end up giving you some crazy buffs for your character. And there is going to be one or multiple for every character here. So I thought about it and said, hey, what would be better than to actually go over each of these card sets so you guys can know exactly what to do here. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the artifact sets here and actually show you guys exactly what they do. And then from there, we'll go ahead and explain the universe cards with the said artifact card here. So first things first, the artifact section, do not grind these till probably level 70 or 80. That is going to be the best thing to go ahead and do here. So keep that in mind. But when it comes down to at least the card sets here, we're gonna take a look at the love set first. Seeing it's pretty easily go over this, and actually the love, you know what, let's start from the top down. Will probably be a little bit easier for you guys, so you guys can know from left to right what they really are. I think that might help a lot of you guys out as well. So starting from at least a left to right situation, we have the first set here being at the top, and this one is going to be called, just to make sure we are looking at the right one here, Prudence. Now, Prudence immediately here for the 2-piece effect, you're actually decreasing your speed by 3% and increasing your attack by 18%. With the 4 set, you're actually increasing your damage dealt by 16%, and this is just for the 4 set. With this in mind, you guys, you are going to be using this for specific type characters who really don't need too much speed, of course, but need that extra attack. And then, of course, you want to make sure you're getting that damage dealt, which is absolutely amazing. The next set that is actually have down here is called the Obsession set, and this increases your attack by 12% for the 2 set, and the 4 set actually increases your attack by 25% for 3 whole turns. You also gain an effect once again when you use Theurgy. This is morally going to be for your characters that are like C's characters, part of P3. Now when it comes down to the next at least set effects, when it comes with those artifacts, that's going to be these 2 here. Now these 2 are also fairly new, at least the top one being at least this one here is called Disappointment. Now Disappointment looks somewhat like, I guess, a good way to show, I guess, the icons. Bottom one is Disappointment, the top one is actually Futility. So we're gonna go ahead and read the bottom one first here. So Disappointment actually gives you an increased attack by 12% at the 2-piece effect, and the 4 set effect actually gives you persona skill damage, or at least, sorry, when dealing persona skill damage, will increase the current persona skill damage by 25% if your last persona skill damage was a different element. So pretty much whenever you use a different element here from the last skill that you use to deal damage, you will get an increased skill damage up, I guess you can say, and which is going to help you out a decent bit. Now for the next one, that is going to be Futility. The 2-piece set increases attack by 12%, while the 4-piece set increases EHR by 30% for 2 whole turns. You also gain this effect again whenever you deal with technicals, so any characters that really utilize technicals, that's going to be the card set for them. So now that we went over those 2, let's go ahead and go over the next 2 here. These were a little newer, but they came out around like I would like to say a Howler in them as well. So let's go ahead and go over these guys. So The first one that we're going to go ahead and look at is going to be Defeat. Now, Defeat is the one at the bottom, as I did show you guys with the last one as well. The first one that we're always going over is always the bottom, then we'll do the top. So Defeat is the bottom one here, and what this one does, it increases your hit rate by 15%, and then of course for the force set effect, it increases fire damage to enemies affected by elements by 20%. Then the next one that we're going to go ahead and take a look at here, this is Triumph. Now, Triumph itself is also a newer one. It's going to look somewhat like this at the top. And this one increases your crit rates by 7.5% for the 2 set effect. As for the 4 set effect, it does follow up damage attack, and it's actually increased by 40%. So surely do keep that in mind. Now we went over those two. We're going to go over these two here, in which actually I've talked about these very recently. So I'll be sure to go ahead and go back over these guys here as well. And they're pretty easy to go ahead and remember. The bottom one is Reconciliation, and the top one is Worry here. And so checking out Reconciliation here, it actually increases your speed by 6 itself. And then for the 4 set effect, during combat, it does increase your HP, attack, and defense by 15%. Keep in mind, both of these set effects, once you do have the 4 set effect, you get both of these actual effects themselves. So don't worry about just getting only one of them. Then of course we have Worry over here. Worry itself has a 2 set effect of increased SP recovery by 80%, while also having a 4 set effect. When entering the battle, you will immediately at least recover 25% of your highlight charge, and it will not stack though, so do keep that in mind. Now for our next one here, we have these two, which actually I haven't used them in quite some time, so I do have to kind of give myself a little bit of a refresher on these guys here. But the bottom one is Repression, and the top one is Virtue. Virtue, if I remember right, is for blessed characters, but for the bottom one here, it does cater to the physical damage side of things. It increases physical damage by 10%, and for the 4 set, it gains resentment after every hit of skill damage. It will then increase attack by 5% for 2 whole turns, up to 6 stacks. As for the next one, which of course, as I did say, is Virtue, this one for the 2 set effect increases blessed damage by 10%, and for the 4 set effect increases blessed skill crit by 12%. And when your HP percent is nothing less than 50%, that's where you're really going to get that 12%. If it is less than 50%, you're not ever going to get that 12%. So be sure to stay above at least the 50% mark. So let's go ahead and go to the next one here. This one is what I would like to call the Navi set, for the most part being the bottom one, and the other one is the Joy set that's mainly meant for like side characters. So we're going to go over both of these. So the bottom one's Duty, the top one is Joy. Duty actually increases your HP by 12%, and the 4 set effect, actually when it's equipped to a navigator, increases all allies HP, attack, and defense by 8%. The top one here, which is Joy of course, does help out in the side damage category. As for this one, the 2 set actually increases side damage by 10%, and for the 4 set effect, you're increasing your attack by 15% when dealing side damage. Additionally, you will increase attack by 15% as well, so surely do keep that in mind. With both of these artifact sets out of the way, we only have a few more to really go over here. So our next two are a little bit older here. We don't really have to be too unfamiliar with these guys, seeing they are an older bunch. So the bottom one is Interference, and the one on the top should be, let me make sure I have the correct talk about this one, because this is the one that's for defenders, if I remember correct here. And the top one is, what were this called actually? Let me remember. I actually don't have this off the top of my head. We have Interference, and then we have Peace. So Interference is meant for our curse damage users here. The 2 set effect actually gets up your curse damage by 10%, while the 4 set effect increases your skill damage to enemies with debuffs by 20%. Then of course the Peace one here gives you an increased defense by 20%, and the 4 piece increases your shield effect by 18%. Our next ones that we're going to go ahead and go over here, if we go ahead and look at that as well, are going to be these two. The bottom one is for electric characters, so surely do keep that in mind, while the top one is more of like a well-rounded HP set here. So go ahead and give those two a little bit of a looks as well. So taking a look, oh, just grab the warm one here. Taking a look at the first one, which is the electric set being changed. This one increases elect damage by 10%, and the 4 set effect actually increases your elect damage by 9% after any allies use an electric skill up to 3 whole stack. As I did say, the next one is a well-rounded type little set effect here called Sovereignty, And the 2-piece effect increases HP by 12%, with a 4-piece effect dealing 8% HP, additional damage to the main target whenever attacking with a skill. So both of those are pretty darn decent artifacts, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next two. Now the next two here are going to be Dispute and then also be Valour. Dispute is more of a fire damage card set here, with the 2-piece increasing fire damage by 10% and the 4-piece set actually increasing attack by 15%, additionally increasing attack by 15% if the enemy is weak to the said fire. It's almost a whopping 30% of at least attack right there, plus the extra 10% for the 2-piece. So that's really nice as well. Then of course we have Valour. Now this one increases physical damage as well by 10%, though the 4-piece is a little bit different. For this one, it increases crit damage by 30% for 2 whole turns, and you will gain this effect again whenever you land a crit. It's more or less going to be your actual set effect for like Ryuji, so surely do keep that in mind. Next set effect that we're going to be going over here is going to be these two. One of them is the ice set, which is called Luxury. The other one is actually the one called Love here. Ice set, of course, as I did say, for ice damage characters, you get an increased ice damage by 10% and have an increased follow-up damage by 40%. As for at least Love, you actually are focusing more on the healing side of things, increasing your healing effect by 9%. And then with the 4-piece set, you're increasing your healing effect by 23% whenever allies, or at least whenever you heal allies with not higher than at least 50% health. So if they're above that 50% health, then you don't heal that extra 23%. Though if they aren't above that 50% health, then of course you get that extra 23% as well. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at some of the really basic card sets here, we have the bottom one being Victory and the top one being Strength. Victory itself increases wind damage by 10%, with a 4-set effect being there is a 25% fixed chance to increase attack by 20% after each hit of an attack. So surely do keep that in mind. Now for the Strength set, it's just your basic set that you have here, with the 2-piece being increased attack by 12% and the 4-piece being at the start of the battle, you increase attack by 10% after every 6 turns up to 3 whole stacks. Pretty lackluster, but it does get the job done at the beginning of the game. Then we have the last 2 sets here. Truth is being the bottom set, and then of course Affluence being the top set, and you actually use this one a lot here throughout the game. Truth is the nuke set of the game here, with the 2-piece dealing 10% extra nuke damage, and then the 4-piece dealing 30% attack damage to the main target if the enemy is inflicted with an elemental element. As for Affluence, here we have the 2-piece decreasing damage taken by 8%, and the 4-piece is actually giving you at the start of the battle, you will actually gain 25% extra highlight energy, though this cannot be triggered again. So it's only a one-time buff, but it still comes in handy. But all in all, that is all the artifact sets, and that's more or less going to be all of your revelation cards. There is still the side that's going to be the universe cards that are pretty much the things that are paired with said revelation cards. So let's go ahead and give that a look as well. So checking out one of these, we're going to once again use our man Makoto as an example here, but we'll go ahead and go over all the universe cards here. And I guess the first one that we can go ahead and start with is going to be Hope. Now Hope is one of the newer sets, and this is why I say you need to use a 4 set. In order to activate these said actual set effects here, you need to use a said 4 set effect. So for this card set that we explained here, while using Hope, you actually deal 1 hit of skill damage and increase your own fire damage by 3% for 3 turns up to 8 stacks. Also, when reaching 8 stacks, you will additionally increase your crit rate by 6%, so surely do keep this in mind. Now the same thing, or at least something different, will happen with this same universe card when it goes paired with the duty card. Now, if you guys don't remember what the duty card does look like, be sure to go back to that timestamp so you can actually see it real quick. But when paired with the duty card, it actually is allowing you to do a different effect. When equipped to at least elucidate thieves, this, whenever you use a skill on allies, will increase the skill target's pin by 5% for 1 whole turn. Now it's nice, but it's only for 1 whole turn, so you do have to keep that in mind. And though the pin is 5%, it is kind of low still in that aspect, so it is pretty decent for at least a universal card with its 4 set effect, but it's just there. Hope only has 2 set effects, so of course there are more that are going to do this as well. So let's go ahead and give them a look-see as well. I think the best way for me to kind of explain how these are going to go might actually just be like showing them on my said characters here. So let's just go through and see what they have on. So the next one that we actually do have on is Determination here. So Determination, as you guys can see on the screen, looks like that as a universal card, and it does have 3 different set effects it can give. So with the set effect that I currently have on, which is this one, you guys can go back to this as well. It's called Virtue. If you guys wanted to go ahead and go back and actually match up the pictures themselves, this increases your damage bonus by 10%, 20%, or even 30% when you've reached these said HP gains. So 10% at 6,000 HP, 20% at 9,000 HP, and 30% at 12,000 HP. If you go ahead and pair this at said universal card with Prudence, which we did show as well, be sure to go back to the video to check out that card set. If you go ahead and look at that card set here, at the start of the battle, we're actually able to increase our speed, or at least if our speed is at 3rd or the 4th slot, we're then additionally increasing our own attack by 24% up to a whopping 30%. If we're in that 4th slot, we get 30%. If we're in the 3rd slot, we get 24%. Then the last one that, of course, this main universe card does get paired with is Duty. So whenever you do have this universe card paired with the 4th set of Duty, it actually is whenever it's equipped by the Navigator Thieves, decreases the main target's defense by 10% for 2 whole turns when inflicting debuffs. Now, this may sound a little confusing to you guys, but it's a little bit easier, which is why I kind of paired them with the timestamps. So any of these card sets that I do say, like Determination being the universe card, that's always going to be the first one I say first. Whatever the next one is going to be the actual artifact card. So just go back in the video and just flip flop from each one. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at another character here. So let's actually flip on through here. I'm pretty sure I have a different card on this one as well. This card effect immediately. This is one of the older card effects here, and it's actually going to be called Departure. It also has 3 different ones that you can go ahead and have as well here. So the first one that I have it on is actually Departure and Sovereignty. So if you guys don't know what that is, be sure to check out the timestamps, find that name as well, and match up the cards. But whenever you do have this universe card paired with Sovereignty, you're able to decrease the main target's defense by 23% for 2 turns after attacking them with a skill. So that's always going to be there as well. Now the next one is going to be Departure and Affluence. Whenever you have this, of course, you increase the damage dealt by 8% for 1 turn when attacking an enemy. And then we have the last one, which is Departure and Interference, and this increases attack by 30% for 3 turns after defeating an enemy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get moving to the next one here. And I think the best way to really showcase this, since we already have that one covered, I guess we can go ahead and go over this one as well. This is one of the newer universe cards, in which this one itself is called Wisdom. Now, well, no, sorry, this one's not Wisdom. This one is actually the Freedom card here. Oh, I almost got that wrong for a second. So Freedom can be paired with 3 as well. The first one that you want to go ahead and pair attention to is going to be the one that actually gets up your attack by 35%. So it's going to be Freedom and Disappointment. When paired with this here, you'll be able to deal almighty damage, and it increases attack by 35% and crit rates by 12%, or at least when dealing almighty damage, you'll get that increase. Then of course we have Freedom and Triumph. When using a persona skill here, you will actually gain 1 stack of glory up to 2 stacks, consuming all the stacks of glory when doing a follow-up. Each consumed stack of glory will then increase the follow-up's pin by 8%. So surely this is more of a pin increase, keep that in mind. Then we have the last little effect that it does have, which is Freedom and Defeat, which increases all allies damage dealt to enemies, inflicting with a debuff by 8%. This can only be triggered once and cannot be triggered again, so surely do keep that in mind. All right, so now we went over those at least. I'm actually just going to do it this way because it's probably a little easier just to select them this way here. I didn't even think about it at the time, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one, which is Growth. Now, Growth itself can also be paired with 3 different, 3 different aspects when it comes down to at least the universal cards, so surely do keep that in mind. So, Growth, for the first effect that it's actually able to do, in which I think you guys, okay, yeah, you guys can't really see it on my screen here, but let's go ahead and just click it so you guys can actually take a look at it. Growth in Luxury increases ice damage bonus by 10% for 2 turns when triggering follow-up, or at least 3 whole stacks. Growth in Change increases follow-up crit damage by 50%, and Growth in Strength increases the cap of the attack buff up to 5 whole stacks. Now the next one that we're going to go ahead and give a little bit of a look-see to here, this one is actually going to be the Trust card, because the Trust card is one of the few that you're going to use quite a lot. It's going to look similar to this one here, in which if we go ahead and give this one a little bit of a look, which I'm going to go ahead and click this as well, you guys know exactly what it does. Trust in Change increases all allies electric damage by 12% when dealing the electric damage buff. It actually reaches to 3 whole stacks. This cannot be triggered again, so you can only get this 3 stack of this effect, and then that's it. Can't go any further. As for Trust in Strength here, at the start of the battle, you increase other allies' attack by 10%, and it cannot be triggered again. Trust in Affluence increases all allies' damage dealt by 8% for 2 whole turns when using a skill on an ally. So once again, those are 3 for at least the Trust card here. Let's go ahead and swap over to the next card that we haven't done yet. Now the next one that we're going to go ahead and give a look at is going to be the Harmony card. The Harmony card is going to look something like this one right here, which let me make sure I have the correct one. Yes, here it is. It's going to look something like this one here, and it's going to go ahead and do these few actions. We only have, I think, 3 for this one as well. So for the first action that it does, which is Harmony and Victory, it increases the target's damage taken by 12% for 2 whole turns. Whenever you trigger this effect of the Revelation card's buff here, that's what you end up getting out of it. So surely do keep that in mind. Then the next one is Harmony and Strength, which increases damage bonus by 10% for all allies with the same element. This can only be triggered once, it cannot be triggered again, so surely do keep that in mind. Then we have Harmony and Truth, which increases all allies' nuke damage by 5% for 2 turns when inflicting elemental elements. Each stack is then counted independently. So surely do keep that in mind for my people who are going to be trying to use this for some nuke damage as well. Now we have our next card, which is going to be the Focus card. Now the Focus card is one of the earlier universe cards that were in this game as well here. So a lot of people had this as well, but this one only has 3 instead of 2. There are a couple that have 2, but majority, if I'm right, usually have 3. So the first one, which is Focus and Luxury, increases the follow-up damage, or at least follow-up crit damage, by 50%. Then we have Focus and Valor, increases physical and electric damage by 12%, which then increases the effect of 24% when there is only 1 enemy. Then we have the last effect, which is Focus and Love, and increases a healing effect by 28% for 2 whole turns after you do land a crit, or at least a crit. Jeez, that's how you know I'm getting tired of saying things, because gosh, over here can't speak all of a sudden. But after you have a crit. Now, going on to the next card here, this is another new one, which is called Awareness. This card effect is pretty simple as well, which I need to find it because I just have my eyes on it. Here it is. Awareness right here. This one also has several different effects as well, so sure you do keep that in mind. But for the first effect here, it increases damage dealt by 12% when attacking enemies inflicted by elemental elements up to 2 whole stacks, and this is only for Awareness and Truth. As for Awareness and Sovereignty, it increases all allies fire damage by 6% and increases all allies fire damage by 6% for 2 whole turns whenever you inflict a burn, which is always decent. And then Awareness and Interference. This will increase your attack by 9% after every hit of damage to the enemy with a debuff for 1 turn up to 3 whole stacks. So that's always interesting there as well. Now we do still have a few more to go through here, which I do apologize that this is actually taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. I thought it'd be a little bit quicker, but seems I was a little wrong on that one. Then we have our next one, which is Acceptance. Now Acceptance is pretty simple as well here. This is another one that you guys are going to probably use a decent bit here. Looks similar to this here. And this one does have 3 whole ones as well. The first one actually increases defense by 40% for 2 whole turns when attacked, which is Acceptance and Peace. Acceptance and Dispute increases attack by 8% per enemy up to 40%. And then Acceptance and Love increases attack by 25% when using healing skills. Our next card that we're going to immediately go over is actually Faith here, seeing that we haven't went over this one just yet. And Faith is going to look similar to this here. So go ahead and click this. Faith also has their 3 as well. So the first one that it ends up doing is it increases all thieves damage dealt to enemies with technical element by 10%, and this cannot be triggered again. This is with Faith and Futility. Now, Faith and Peace, after granting Shield, increases the target's defense by 7% for 2 whole turns up to 3 stacks. And then Faith and Love increases healing effect by 1% for every 800 HP you have, up to 20 whole percentage. Now, our next one that we're going to have for at least this universe card, in which I am correct, did I get that whole section? I think I did get that whole section as well. We only have a few more left. So thank you guys who are actually sticking around for this entire video here. I think we only have 2 that we need to go over, or no, 3 that we need to go over. So surely do keep that in mind. Now, our next one that we're going to go ahead and look at is going to be Sincerity. Now, Sincerity looks something like, let's see if I can find it real quick right here. And this one you're going to have a decent bit of, but it's only going to be for specific characters as well here. Now, for Sincerity itself, it does have its 3 functions. Sincerity and Obsession, after using Theurgy, increases all allies damage dealt by 10% for 3 whole turns. And of course, we have Sincerity and Joy, increases damage bonus up to 30% based on the 80% of your healing bonus. And then we have Sincerity and Duty. When equipped by Elucidate Thieves, it increases all allies HP, attack, and defense by 2% with each ally with the same enemy, or at least not enemy, sorry, element. This will always help as well when it does come down to if you're using like a mono team or something like that. Though some of these are very specific, so you do have to keep that in mind. Now, our next Elite set effect is going to be Wisdom, which I was actually surprised it took me so long to get to Elite Wisdom itself here. It does look similar to this one, but it is this one right here. Now, Wisdom itself does have 3 as well, in which Wisdom and Repression increases physical damage and EHR by 20% when Resentment is not less than 5 stacks. Wisdom and Joy increases damage bonus up to 30% based on 50% of your EHR. And then Wisdom and Virtue, when using the highlight, increases attack by 30% and damage dealt by 25%. Now, finally getting down to our last one. Geez, this one actually took a little bit of a while to do here. So this one is going to be Creation. Creation itself has only 2 pairs. I know, after all these stinking 3 pairs, we finally got a 2 pair here. This one is called Creation and Worry. In battle, when you reach 100% or 150% or even 200% SP recovery, it increases crit damage by 15%, 30%, up to 45%. And then for Creation and Reconciliation here, at the start of the battle, increases the damage dealt for the lowest speed ally by 12%. Only this can only be triggered once, it cannot be triggered again, so surely do keep that in mind. So as I did say throughout the video, be sure to go ahead and match those up with the cards themselves. Hopefully I made things a lot clearer. It was very confusing at first when I did this in prior videos, so I've been trying to optimize how I do this video very often. So hopefully this was very much so informational and helpful for you all. Until next time, everybody, peace out and have a wonderful day.